Consult an advisor or conduct your own due diligence when making financial decisions. General principles discussed during this program do not constitute personal advice. This program is furnished by Dentist Advisors, a registered investment advisor.
Welcome back to another episode of the Dentist Money Show, where we help dentists make smart financial decisions. I'm a guy named Matt. I'm here with Hot Take Jake and the wonderful, beautiful Christine Ewan. Hello, both of you. How are you?
Hello.
Great.
Feels good. Feels good.
Yeah.
We're going to pretend like it's the new year, even though we're not recording this in the new year. We'll be honest.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Yeah,
Happy
exactly.
New Year.
Isn't there a bit about this? Like everyone says Happy New Year, but you can only say that for what, like the first week or second week into January?
What?
That's a
I was
great way
just
to
gonna
start.
say, what
what
is
is
the
the statute
rule?
of limitations? I've asked this many times. What's the rule? I think through January.
All
Ooh,
of January.
I wouldn't go that far.
I think so. You
I wouldn't go that far.
If
I'm
it's
bored
January-
by the 15th. I've already got the next year down, and I'm writing it correctly.
Well,
I'll
that's
give it
okay.
2
This is why
weeks.
that's why you're on the show, Chris. Okay, so you're saying 2 weeks. Jake, what about you?
I probably agree. Yeah, I think about 2 weeks.
Okay. I push it a little bit farther. Like, well, let me say this. I might not even say Happy New Year the last week of January, but if somebody said it to me, I wouldn't think it's weird. Like,
Okay.
I think it's weird when you get past January, like you're into February. It's like, no, we've moved on. We're officially into the year.
Yeah, so you get to January
all of
16th. I'm
January
like,
is fine.
where have you been? You say Happy New
Yeah.
Year to me on the 16th. I'm like, were you asleep in the last 2 weeks? What's going on?
Okay.
Moving on.
All right. So the
debate begins.
That's fair. The debate begins. I like this. I'm with you. Minimum or you guys are saying 2 weeks. I'm saying 2 to 4. I'll give it a little bit of wiggle room there. But beyond January, it does get weird.
So I do
So
want to
I
say
agree.
we need to meet again, say early February, and see what we learned. Let's revisit this.
Okay.
What happened?
Yeah. Yes. I like it. Okay. Well, today, as I'm sure you already figured out, we're talking Happy New Year, which always comes with resolutions and goals. And there's a very specific reason I asked you two to come on with me, because I think you both bring unique insight and perspective and opinions on, and just from a different angle around goals. Jake, you and I have talked a lot, just like personally, just in conversations around goals. And then Chris, same with you. You just bring such a unique perspective on like business goals and what dentists should be thinking about when it comes to their practice, and setting goals for 2026 and all that. So that's what we want to talk about. And Ryan and I did an episode kind of in the theme of like refreshing episodes, as we've talked about the latter half of 2025. Ryan and I did a goals podcast. I think we titled it "Goals Are Overrated." So take that for what it's worth. We're going to talk about from that angle. But we did a goals podcast about 4 years ago, and we thought we would kind of, again, revive that, refresh it, bring it back, and kind of use it as our baseline outline to go through this conversation. But before we jump into anything, I want to give you guys kind of first word on this, like just things that come to mind to set this up, your intentions for this discussion around goals and the way dentists should be thinking about this. Anything you guys want to say?
Before Chris.
I'll start. Yeah. Again, New Year's resolutions, I think, are a misnomer. I don't believe in lifestyle, big sweeping goals at the beginning of the year because the calendar turned over. And as we're hearing this in January, again, Happy New Year. But the idea of having a direction, I think, is important. I think a goal, but I also think a goal without a strategy or a plan is just a dream. So if I'm going to have a goal or something that I'm working toward, that's important because it gives us purpose. But I also need to think about, why did I choose that goal? So the understanding that goals are good when they're well thought out and there's a good reason behind them. So I can do that personally. I can do that in the business. Personally, if I am looking to lose weight, I can't just say I want to lose weight. I want to have a specific goal, measurements along the way. Is it achievable? Do I have a time to this? So the SMART goal process, I think all of that
you're
has
going with
value.
the SMART acronym. Yep.
Right. But personally and then professionally
Yep.
too, I can have business goals, but why am I choosing that thing, that number, that result? What's motivating that? And is that healthy, smart, measurable, all of that? So I think there's great reasons to have personal and professional goals. I'm in.
That's great. Jake?
I agree. I mean, Matt, you're probably going to get into some data and stats, right, that we probably
Yep.
have here. Do you guys think that there's a limit on how many goals someone can set? Like, as we're starting this new year,
Absolutely.
and most people
Yes.
say, like, hey, okay, here's my resolutions for the year, my goals. We can use those interchangeably. I don't know. Is there data around that? Do we? Is it like 1 or 2?
Yes, there is.
Okay, Matt.
Well, and
I'm
I
Well,
couldn't
curious on
agree
this.
not-
more. Too
so-
many, you're not going to be focused, right? You aren't going to, I mean, what do you want to get to and why? And what if they're conflicting? What if you find out that, my weight loss and my desire to go to 6 different restaurants with my spouse in the next year, those might be conflicting.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. So I don't have data necessarily on what is the ideal number of goals.
Yeah.
I think I've read in the past, and I think this just kind of maybe is partly my own bias and feels somewhat intuitive, that beyond 3 to 5, I think you're just in general, I think you're probably, it's going to be overkill. But I will say, Jake, we'll talk about this, but one of the main reasons we'll talk about data around success rates of resolutions. One of the main reasons that people fail when it comes to resolutions is they set too many. That is in the data.
Yeah.
So
as we're going through this, I think a framework for me in talking about goals or resolutions is always, I think the exercise of writing down maybe 3 to 5 goals of like what I want to accomplish this year. Here's what I want to improve in my life, whether that's in the business or financially or health related. We'll get into the different nuances of setting goals for different aspects of our life. But I think it could be a good exercise to just identify what's most important to you. It's like, hey, I'm going to list out 3 to 5 things here that I would like to improve about my life. Maybe I can't get to all of these and that's overwhelming, but what of these like 3 to 5 things, what's 1 or 2 that I feel is going to make the biggest impact in the short term? And I just think we always talk about on this podcast, living with some intention, having some direction, and just the idea of thinking about how I want to improve and sitting down, whether you're sitting down or going out to lunch or doing, however you decide to do this. I think that just starting to think about how you want to improve your life is a great way to be more intentional and to, so like just that conversation alone, I think is encouraging as we start this new year here.
yeah, I think it's a really good point, Jake. And this brings up, I had a conversation with a couple of good friends of mine recently, and this got brought up around this exact topic, goals and setting habits and trying to be healthy or whatever it is. And my friend, I have not confirmed this, so take this for what it is. But my friend said that he had been reading about this, and that one of the things that he read was that the success rate of goals or habits actually increases. And this is maybe a bit counterintuitive because we're always thinking about things to add to our life with resolutions. Usually, I think, where it's like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to add this. I'm going to read more books. I'm going to, whatever it is. I'm going to go to the gym more. He said the studies that he's been reading recently talked about your level of success goes up when you actually focus habits and goals on things you're going to cut. So it's like things I'm going to cut out of my life as opposed to things I'm going to add to my life. And I thought that was actually interesting. We can maybe talk about that as we go through this, but I'm with you, Jake. I think at its core, I used to do this a lot where it's like, I'm going to do these 10 things to show I'm going to be a totally different person just because the calendar now says January 1 as opposed to 12/31. But I think, yeah, less is more in this situation. But Chris, and there's a reason I wanted you on here because I think you're a huge believer in goals. And I think there's some benefits to talking about that perspective. So this is a great setup, guys. And so Jake, to your point around data, I want to hit this, just share some data with people. This data has been going on for quite a while. Like this has been pretty consistent.
What? This isn't a new topic?
This is not a new topic. But this data is pretty consistent as far as what it shows. You can pretty much see this across the board. If you go Google this and find study after study after study, the success rates of resolutions. So it ranges, but it's pretty tight window. So on average, the range of success is 9 to 12% success rate. So 9 to 12% of people who set New Year's resolutions actually achieve them. Is that higher or lower than you guys would have thought?
I would have picked 10.
Or about what
I would have picked 10.
Isn't
you
it
would have
funny?
picked about 10%?
1 out of 10.
Yeah, it's
1 out
my
of 10.
cynical brain. I think that's high. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
You're
that
like, wow,
feels
that's
even
actually
high to
pretty
me.
dang good.
Yeah,
More
pretty
than I
good.
thought.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I mean, we've been talking about this for years now. So I'm not surprised by it. Right. And I agree. I would have probably, if somebody asked me, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. I want to ask you guys, I've actually been thinking about this. Do you think a lot of this is because the satisfaction for most people comes from just the actual setting of the goal, not actually execute? Like, meaning it almost like just feels good to be like, I'm going to set these goals, and it almost feels like you've achieved something just by doing it, and then 2 months later you're not even thinking about it again. Like, I think that actually contributes to a lot of this,
I
and
think
also just maybe the clichéness of. Go ahead, Chris.
being a part of, right? This is what we do at the beginning of the year. So I'm feeling good about that. But I think this brings up Jake's point, or reinforces Jake's point, that the exercise of putting down some ideas about goals has value. It is beneficial. I do feel good that I've taken the time and thought through it. So I do feel there is satisfaction in the creation of that. So I concur. Now, sadly, when only 1 out of 10 comes to fruition, that's the further dialogue of why is that happening.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. I think, yes, a lot of people are just like, I'm going to set goals and write those down, and that makes me feel good whether I accomplish those actually or not. But I do think there is just value in writing down the goals. Like, it's like, what is the old saying? Just acknowledging or trying to live with. There's probably some subconscious, like, is if you actually sat down and wrote out or typed out goals, whether you like have a plan for accomplishing those goals or not, I think it probably subconsciously changes your behavior somewhat throughout the year. Just like, I know that in the back of my mind, whenever I'm going throughout my day, these are the things that I wanted to accomplish. So I actually do think there's some value in it. Really.
Yeah, that is interesting. And actually, the data supports this, Jake, when you say that, because this was from a 2007 study, right? So older study, but it confirmed the success rate around 10%. But interestingly enough, it said 52% of the participants, only 52% said they were even confident at the success when they set the goal, which is interesting. And it kind of confirms, I think, what you're saying is that there's still value in it, even if you're not fully confident you're going to achieve it. I almost wonder, it's funny as you say this, I'm like, there's kind of the famous saying, a problem defined is a problem half solved.
That's it. Yes.
It's like a goal defined. Could it be a goal defined is a goal half achieved?
Yes.
It's like, as long as you're defining the goal, that's half the battle. But then I think what we want to talk about today is, I think the big focus of today is, okay, how do we actually increase the success rate? If you're going to set goals, what's a way you can actually increase that success, both in the business and on the personal side?
At the very least, setting goals, I think, narrows your focus.
Yeah.
Right. At the very least, it's like, okay, these are the things that I think I want to focus on, have some clarity around, which I think can be helpful.
Yeah.
Well, self-awareness is the
Go ahead,
start of
Chris.
things too. Knowing that this is what the intent, right? I'm actually starting to create some intent to, this next year, to my life, whatever that might be. And that's important. There's value. There's a lot of books about self-awareness. So that is accomplishment in and of itself.
Yeah, totally.
Great start.
Let's talk about really quick. We already hit one of them on one of the and I think, because I think it's informative. I think it's informative to understand the reasons for failure from these studies, and can inform people of like how to do this better. So let's hit really quick. We already talked about one of them being too many resolutions, and that's one. Another one that people talked about, the studies show, is that people setting unrealistic goals. So I think it speaks to that whole idea of like, if you're setting a goal that you're saying there's a 50-50 shot or less that I'm going to even achieve this thing, that's probably too unrealistic. I know I'll just share this from Dennis Advisor standpoint. Our leadership team meets regularly and talks. We set goals every quarter. We call them rocks. But same thing. And our goal as a leadership team and as a company is 80% success. Meaning, if we're setting a goal, we know if we set whatever amount of goals for the quarter, for the year, we're going to miss about 20% of the time. But if we're hitting 80%, we're moving that, we're making progress. We're hitting the goals we want to, or getting the results we want to get. So, but unrealistic goals is a big one. Do you guys have any thoughts on this one? Have you ever set an unrealistic goal?
Well, and again, how do I know what's realistic or unrealistic? So this goes back to, and I'll just stay from the business side. I'll stay even from the personal side, that, if I have a goal of losing weight, so there's a personal goal. Is it unrealistic to say I want to lose 100 pounds in a year? And that's pretty specific though, right? But I want to lose 100 pounds. But making that more specific and putting it on a time frame allows me to say, oop, I can't do that by March, right? Even if realistically I can't do that by March, because if I want to accomplish it, I want to make it realistic. So I'm going to stop with that one. But from a business side, when I'm looking at what is my goal for next year? So let's just say I want to grow 10%. Well, what is my history of growth, right? What's my track record? If I don't know a history of what I've been able to accomplish and how much, what if I grew 20% last year and I didn't even know it? And now this year I want to grow 10. Well, is that good or bad? It's not good or bad.
Yeah.
Is it going to solve the problem that I'm really trying to accomplish? Growth for growth's sake isn't what we're looking for in a business. It's like, what's the business situation? And are we trying to solve a problem? Are we trying to accomplish something? Are we trying to fund my life, my personal lifestyle more so out of my practice? So it's like, again, it's that why behind it. A goal for goal's sake doesn't make sense, personal or professional. So why am I doing this? What am I trying to accomplish? And then on the personal side, same thing. Is there, I will just share, I've got a big trip coming up in September and I want to, maybe lose 10 pounds by then. So I've got a very realistic, understandable, valuable, accomplishable, and time-bound goal. I know why, because I'm going on a trip, for my birthday. So I've got my motivation. I've got my why. Now, the whole process of how I get there, we can get into another time. But I do believe realistic, accomplishable goals are important, but also what's driving that. That's what's going to keep them going over time, right?
Matt, I think you asked about, what was your question to us about, do we set goals or have you ever
set an unrealistic goal?
Yeah. So I'll play my role here. I can start with playing my role, I think, on this podcast of I generally am anti-goal in general. Okay. Because that's a big sweeping thing there. We can get into the nuances of that. I don't set goals really personally for peeking behind the curtain into my life here. I'm not a big goal setter. A lot of times I do think that people will set goals just to set goals, right? Talking about unrealistic goals and do you set those? I think people are like, oh, it's the beginning of the year. In order to feel good about myself, like we were talking about, I need to set these 5 goals, right, that I'm going to accomplish. And oftentimes they'll just set those goals and move on and won't think about them ever again. Or maybe they'll try half-heartedly for the first half of the week. I think sometimes when my issue with general goal setting is just that they're general. Like I think people will set goals because they think they need to, and they're setting goals that other people told them they should set, right? Like everyone be like, I need to save more money this year. I need to get in better shape and I want to make more money. And I just want to do all those things, right? I just want my general quality of life to increase, right? It's kind of what they're hoping for or praying for in these goals here. And I just don't know how helpful that is. I feel like most people are already working towards most of those things anyway. Like most people are striving to be more healthy, usually striving to make more money, striving to have their personal finances in order. Like, this is a general just motivation that most people have. And so I'm just like having a goal saying I'm going to get in shape this year. I just don't know how beneficial that really is. Does that make sense?
I concur with that completely.
I'm with you.
But that's also because it's not specific. First of all, why do you want to get healthier? Is it because I want to live longer? Because I want to fit into this outfit for my 20-year class reunion? Very superficial on that one. But why do I want to get healthier? Right? Because I'm supposed to, because America says I should, because or do I want to play with my kids? Right? So it's like, why do you want to do this? Number one. So that motivation, I think, is critical. With these general, broad, sweeping goals, don't count. That's a dream, right? In my definition of a goal. So, and again, I'm going back to that specific and time-bound, realistic, achievable, and measurable. All of that matters when it comes to setting goals, or they are, I would agree, worthless to have them, other than the 50% value of writing them down. So I'm aware of them. I'll give you 100% on that. Writing things down has value, and thinking about it has value. But then accomplishing them is a whole nother piece to go. Why have a goal if you don't have a plan? Then you have a dream. Yeah, someday. When do you know you're done? How do you know you're healthy? Where's the measurements of that?
Yeah.
How's that being defined? So again, my role on this podcast, you have brought a strategist into this conversation where my entire career is about making plans. So that's my take on it.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Jake.
This is great because I think we can get into talking about goals in different areas of your life too, I think is important here. So I'll talk to the personal finance side. We're working with dentists about, okay, personal finances, we need to set some, again, quote unquote goals. I want to talk about this, even that word here a little bit too. It's like, hey, we need to have some framework around where we're going. I do think goals are beneficial in that sense, right? Where it's like, we have to have some direction about where you want to go. But the thing when it comes to personal finance side of it is oftentimes personal finance goals can span decades, right? If we're planning for like financial independence or retirement, or we're trying to predict maybe when do you want to cut down to the practice or expand your practice, or all of these other things that tie into it. And as we know, things change so often. Like this is why goals sometimes I say like are futile on the personal finance side of things. It just so much is going to change, not even 5 years from now or 10 years from now or 20 years from now. Like the world is going to be a completely different place than it is now. Interest rates are going to change. We're going to have recessions and booms and busts, and the stock market's going to do this or that, or crypto's going to rise and go away or whatever. We'll have 4 different presidents. And so there's so much guesswork involved. It's really hard to get concrete about we're going to create a perfect little spreadsheet that's going to determine exactly how your financial life is going to go from today to 20 years from now. And that seems a bit unrealistic. The only thing we know for sure when we create your financial plan is it's probably going to be out of date in a couple of months, honestly, right? So we value the process of planning, right? Kind of the process of doing this rather than like a long-term view of like, okay, what's the best things we can be doing today, right? Can we focus on just where's your current income and current savings and spending? Let's make the best use of your funds right now. And then typically if we just keep doing that month after month, you're going to end up in a pretty good place. And we can maybe get more detailed as we go along there. And so that's where even I come from a professional, just on the personal finance side of things is, yes, we need some sort of direction. So like even if I want to use the word goal, I would almost like call it guesses sometimes with clients and people I work with. Like, can we just make a guess about what we think you're going to want in the future or where we're headed? And let's take a guess about the future. And then today we'll get really concrete and really detailed about how to utilize your budget. And then we'll just kind of keep evolving and keep tweaking over time. But we're not beholden to like one ironclad path that we need to follow. Sorry, I spewed a lot of you guys there.
No, I think that's great. I think you're both speaking to, I don't think there's anything that you guys are saying that's actually in opposition.
Right.
I think we're all saying the same thing, which is the way you set goals and why you're setting goals matter. But what I hear you saying, Jake, and I tend to agree with you, my thoughts on goals have evolved a lot over my life, depending on the phase in life I'm in or what I'm focused on, whether it be health and fitness or career or whatever. My views on this have evolved a ton. But I tend to, what I'm hearing from you, Jake, and I agree, is like goals, you're calling them futile. The way I think of it is like goals have a shelf life. Like at some point, like if you're only driven by goals, I think one of the, and let's be honest, we're talking to type A people who are probably big goal setters. And one of the reasons why they are where they are, being dentists, is because they've had, and I actually think this is one of the issues we see, is dentists from early on in school when they decide they were going to be a dentist, they have goals in school. I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to get to this level. I got to get into dental school. If I'm going to go ortho or whatever, then you get out. It's like, okay, what's my next goal? I've actually talked to a lot of dentists that have this kind of existential, like, oh, well, now I'm kind of like, what do I do now? At some point in their career, it's like you can't, I think it's hard to always have goals be the main thing that's driving you. I think is what you're saying, Jake. There's some shelf life to it.
Yes. And if we're just diving a little more on the personal finance side of things too, personal finance is an interesting subject because I think a lot of us think like my personal finance goals is to stockpile the most money as possible, right? Kind of by the end of my life. That's kind of just natural, kind of like business finances and things like how can I just make as much money as possible when that's really not the aim of personal finance. The aim of personal finance is to try and identify what do you want out of life? Do you have an ideal lifestyle? Do you have things you value in your life? And can we try and make the money that you're making support those things, to help support your lifestyle as much as possible? And so this also gets into like when we're like goal setting on the personal finance side, it's not like, again, we can get into talking about retirement and that big hairy goal and things like that. But oftentimes I'm like, well, we just want to figure out what do you want out of life and how can we support that? But the issue there, I find oftentimes people don't know what they want out of life.
Or they want
which is
different things
interesting.
as a couple too. That can be challenging.
Yes, or they just want what their friends think they want. Like you ask them, like I'll ask people all the time, like, okay, let's set money aside. Let's just say like you're at financial independence, you won the lottery, whatever, money's not an issue for you. How does your life change or what are you looking for? And oftentimes what I get are really broad answers like, I don't know, I think I would like to go on more vacations or I want to spend more time with my family. You kind of get the stock answers that you think they should be saying. And what that identifies to me is most people don't have like a specific, I want this type of thing. And so they'll default to like, I just need to get my collections in the practice, the X amount, or I want to get this much in my brokerage account and just more tangible goals to set towards. And I just don't think, anyway, it's just interesting where I don't know if we really know what we want on the personal finance side of things. So therefore goals are a bit, again, back to my futile thing. Like I don't know. It's a conundrum for me, I guess, in my mind.
I'm going to get Kristen here. I have thoughts, but I want to get Kristen.
Well, and I hear the conundrum, and I'm appreciating. I'm writing some notes down as you are both talking. Goals have a shelf life. I will use that forever now, Matt. Thank you for that. That's time bound. But that's the point about time bound. And that
I probably stole it from someone.
Well, I'm going to give you credit for 3 times, then it's mine. Okay, so goals have a shelf life. But I also think, the futile, and they're not guesses, they're ideas. This is my idea now. This is my thought now. This is my current state of being now. And again, I couldn't agree more that planning is a process, but that process should have, so let's go back to using personal finances. Again, retirement readiness, that whole idea is definitely a big thing. But what can I do now in this time frame of this year, right? So I want to save 5% more over this next year. Why? What's going to keep me putting money aside? What's it for? Is it a problem I'm solving? Something I'm gaining toward? Something that I can give up to achieve that because I might be better off doing that? Right? We heard that earlier. So this small little goal, again, a specific solo goal of 5% increase in savings could be a process of different habits that I'm going to do, that I do daily, that I do weekly, that I do with my family. But again, why? Because I'm doing it because that's going toward the Disney trip. That's a big topic here at DA is, do we go on the Disney cruise, right? So am I saving for that? Am I saving for a thing? That is motivating for me personally on my personal financial side. I have an account, my husband and I, that we put money into for a trip every 2 years. But we don't go out to dinner as much, right? Because we're funding that. We do different things to fund that. That is something that's important to us, to give up other things. So that one goal that is specific, it is time bound because there's an end to it, which I think is important. For the next 12 months, this is going to be our focus. Then the process of doing it. So these different things that can happen along the way that I can see, I can feel good about. That is also when you have the longer goals, if you don't have little measurements and milestones along the way, it becomes, why did I do that? What goal did I have? And so I lose that focus of doing these little things that I said were important because that goal is important enough.
No, I think that's great, Chris. And I think, again, we're highlighting what I'm hearing as we go through this is none of us are saying goals are worthless. Like, we're not saying goals are worthless. I think what we're saying is the way, or what I'm hearing from you two, and I totally agree is, and tell me if I'm wrong, is that where we fall short a lot of times as a people, as humans, when it comes to achieving like growth or success or, success with goals, I think part of it is, Chris, what you're highlighting is we don't have a really foundational concrete why. And I think, Jake, you're saying the same thing. It really just comes down to like, there's foundational work that needs to be done before like goals are like the top of the pyramid, kind of, where it's like there's things that we need to be doing prior.
Yes.
And then goals are great, I think, in short term like bursts or stints of like, I want to get X done, like whether it be losing weight or I'll call myself out as something I've denied in myself for a long time, but I'm admitting like I'm a gym bro. I love lifting weights. And back in the day when I was really focused on it before my back surgery, I had very concrete goals of like, I want to hit this weight. And I think those can happen in stints, but those aren't sustainable when it comes to what you guys are highlighting around like long-term fulfillment in life, business, or otherwise.
I think maybe from my point of view, we just make a mistake when we try to, I guess, predict with our goals, almost even predict the outcomes. And we can talk about setting goals around outcomes or setting goals around processes, which I think is a different type of thing where it's like oftentimes in personal finance, it's like I'm going to predict, like if I do this, this, and this is going to be the outcome 15 years from now. And I would try and step away from that thinking of we actually don't know what the outcome is going to be. How about if we just focus concretely and like in the short term, like what we want to do, and let's like a process here, and let the outcome almost take care of itself type of thing there. Let's see what that's going to be. Like if we're relating it to the gym, I would prefer goals, I think, around like the goal should not be, maybe correct me here, like I want to get in shape or I want to lose X amount of pounds. I would almost prefer a goal that says I'm going to go to the gym for 30 minutes a day.
Yep. Input
That's my
versus
goal.
output. Yeah. Input.
And whatever the weight loss is or the results of that, I'll live with it. But my goal is 30 minutes a day is what I would like to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And it goes back to the
Go ahead,
why.
Chris.
Am I trying to be healthy? That gets your butt doing something every day, right? Or do I want to lose weight? Then there's the exercise and the diet and all those things that go along with that. So again, it goes back to the why. What is motivating you to do this? What lifestyle change are you trying to get to? So, well, there's another thing about I want to run a marathon versus be a runner, right? So there's that whole idea of this thing that I want to get to, or do I really want to be the person that if I really, really wanted to, I could run the marathon, but I want to be a runner. So that's the other thing, right? Do I want to accomplish a goal, or do I want to be something different? Do I want to change the process, right? Do I want to change how I'm living my life to be the person I want to be? And that might be my goal. So.
Yeah, you're alluding to James Clear. Let's be honest. He's just
I was going to say Atomic Habits.
If you have not read Atomic Habits, to me, it's if you never read, if this goes in the self-help category, which it probably does. If you're not a self-help reader, that's fine. If there's any self-help book that you want to read, to me, it's Atomic Habits. I think it's the best of its category. And probably the only one you'd ever have to read. I read it every year. I just think it's a good refresher every year. And it's what we're alluding to now. He talks so much about this, like the outcome chasing that you're referring to, Jake, versus what you're speaking to, Chris, of becoming the person I want to be. And then he's got an incredible line in there, something to the effect of every habit is a vote for the person you want to be. So he talks a lot about systems and habits and kind of what you're saying, Chris, like the why is who do I want to become? And as opposed to saying and creating this outcome chasing mentality of like, I'm going to run a marathon, which by the way, who would ever want to run a marathon? Sorry. I just I don't understand that.
Everyone listening in, all of our runner dentists are going to hate this. I know.
Okay. Well,
bless your heart.
Good friend of mine, neighbor, and good friend of mine, neighbor, and just a good friend, Eric, you know who you are, the ultimate runner. You've never met anyone like winning ultra marathon type level. And I tell him all the time, I'm like, man, I don't know how you do what you do or why, but everyone's got their thing. But speaking of, I'm just going to shout out Eric really quick. He's coming up on his 53rd birthday. I just talked to him the other day. You know what he does on his birthday? You know what he does?
A marathon.
He runs a mile for every year of age he is.
He's going to run 53 miles.
Yes, and guess what he does? Because I live right next to him. He doesn't go like run from point A to point B. He just runs a lap around the neighborhood that's exactly 1 mile.
53.
So he's coming up on this. He'll already have done this. He did it a couple years ago, and I watched him. It was on a Saturday, and he's
going to run all day. 53 miles is all
miles, and in a loop. You've never met someone at this level of mental toughness. It's just insane. There's
shout
levels
out to
this.
Eric. Let's get some video of that.
Shout out Eric. You're the man. You know who you are. But to this point, it's outcome chasing versus setting setting habits around the person you want to be. I think the latter is so much more sustainable and fulfilling. And Jake, it comes back to what you were saying. One of the problems is being too rigid in the outcome of like, well, there's so many things you can't control.
Yes,
and so,
that's what I wanted to get to. Yeah.
Yeah. Being rigid about the outcome is going to set you up for failure almost every time, even if you achieve whatever thing you think you're going to achieve.
Yeah. Or it could lead to, this may not be everybody, but it's like, okay, I'm going to set this goal for this year. I have specific things around it. It's like, if you don't, like, you maybe in that scenario only feel satisfied if you're in pursuit of that goal, right? It kind of boxes you in a little bit. Where it's like, this is the one thing that I wanted to focus on. I said it. I'm only thinking about this thing. I'm kind of like, well, what are you missing outside of that? Or you're giving yourself an opportunity to pivot that goal or change halfway along the way, or, find satisfaction in the journey, which I know is cheesy, but we always talk about of like, again, this is why like systems or processes or daily habits feel better. Like, hey, what do I want to improve generally about my life? What do I feel like I'm a little bit lacking? How can I try small things every day to do that, to make me feel better about myself, to enjoy life a little bit more? And I'll let the outcome be the outcome.
And interestingly enough,
go ahead, Chris.
If you talk, so let's stay with the weight loss idea, but this whole idea of if I set a goal and it's, I want to lose 50 pounds in a year. Well, what if I lose 45? Did I fail?
Yeah.
Oh, I
I say
did not
absolutely you
fail.
did not fail.
Okay. Y'all went,
We said
yeah. And I'm like,
as a
no.
no, we said as a response to your
Okay.
great question.
So
But
this
I'm
was
realizing that no,
came out
the
wrong. And
answer
don't
is
do
no,
that
you
to
are
a
not a
girl.
failure.
Yeah. So this all
No,
comes
the
down.
answer is you are not a failure.
Thank you.
Not a failure.
Thank you. But this process, let's go back to that process and the fact that what I did to get that point, right? To even grow, to have that much accomplished, I did certain things along the way. And why are we not measuring those little things? So I'm going to twist this around to the business side now and say, if I have a goal of growing 10% in collections, I need to reverse engineer this to, well, what does that mean? Does that mean I work more hours? Does that mean I change my productivity, my procedure mix? Do I change case presentation and acceptance? There are different, what we call lead indicators. So if I'm successful at the beginning, these behaviors that change, then if I change my diagnostic and my case acceptance ratio and I'm looking at how I'm presenting it, I will get better case acceptance, which will turn into greater productivity. So I'm actually not focusing on the production growth, but I focus on these lead indicators, the behavior changes that I, as the business owner and my team, do together to impact the results in the way I want them to. And I can honestly say when we stay focused on the lead indicators, we have greater success than what was originally planned for that goal. That 10% goal turns into more because, again, the other part about goals is when do I feel accomplished? Do I feel accomplished when I've accomplished the big goal? Like if I'm motivated by that big goal and I'm willing to wait the year to say I made it or not, that's one way of assessing success. Another is, can I say every month I've done certain things every month? My case acceptance has gone up by 5% every month. And most team feel better about smaller goals more often that they accomplish along the way and they get motivated and energized. And then they're more than exceeding that big goal at the end. So it's also about what's going to motivate on the business side, your team. Little goals, and I feel good about them as I go. And maybe I didn't make it this month, but I'm going to do better next month, that kind of thing, versus the big goal at the end. And the reward is at the end. So that's also important when you're talking about creating growth goals in a business, in a dental practice in particular.
I think that's super smart, Chris, on the wealth building side, where it's most people have this big, hairy goal of retirement, right? Or financial independence. It's like, I need to grow to get to this big number. And everything I'm doing is working up towards this thing. The problem with that thinking, though, of just locking myself into, I won't feel good until I get to this number is, what's going to happen is your whole life is going to happen right before you get to this number. And what we need to be focusing on, instead of like, yes, we need to know what that number is and how, generally we want to get there. But we also need to be living life and getting satisfaction along the way too, right? Like this is not just like we're going to put life on hold for 20 years until we get to retirement and then we'll feel good. It has to be, this is what we're working towards. But along the way, we have permission to enjoy life and experience things and all of that jazz, right? So that's also the dichotomy of goals there, which we need the direction, but we also need permission to be happy now before we've even accomplished that biggest goal.
Yeah, I think what you're both I couldn't agree more. I think what you're both speaking to is like where we've already established the why matters, the work being done of the why that's specific to you and not just copying everybody. That takes a ton of work. But then where your focus goes and like the role that a goal plays in your life matters. So again, Jake, you said it earlier that I think goals serve a purpose of setting direction, of like putting you and narrow your focus of like, okay, where am I headed in, just a general kind of sense. And for some people, maybe they're more specific than that, but at the very least, they're going to set a direction. But then Chris, I love what you said is like, okay, we got that. But now where does our focus go? That matters more than anything. And it's what you're saying, Jake. It's the inputs. It's the daily habits. It's the system. That's where the focus goes. Because again, personal wealth is obviously the personal wealth side is most people aren't going to hit these big goals for decades. So if that's what you need to be happy, you're going to live a pretty unsatisfied life. And that's not a way to live, in our opinion. And that just comes down to what your attention's put on. Like, where are you putting your attention? And your focus,
which
and
is
your
what
intention.
we talk about a lot.
Your
yes,
intention.
and intention.
Yeah.
which is like, instead of like, even what we can do is, I know there's this, big retirement goal. Instead of working solely towards like having enough money for retirement, maybe we can focus on the short-term ideal lifestyle, right? What does ideal lifestyle look like? And there's usually a path to get there a lot easier sooner than this is my actual retirement number that I need to get to.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's also on the personal finance side, something to focus on.
So to kind of clarify, or to like summarize that point you made, Jake, there's of course quotes.
Yes.
So one from James Clear, fantastic. I think this sums up what you just said about systems versus goal. But he says, when you fall in love with the process rather than the product, you don't have to give yourself permission to be happy. You can be satisfied anytime your system is running. That's what you're saying. It's like, if you focus on the habits and the system, you can be satisfied along the way. Yeah. It also gives you permission to be like, this isn't going to be perfect. It's not every day is going to be great or perfect every week, every month, every year. It's, am I moving towards, is my system running? I love that kind of phrasing of this.
Yeah.
And if it is running, whether it be on the personal wealth side, the business, health, personal growth, if your system is running towards progress, and he has a whole thing of like never miss twice, like give yourself some flexibility in that system, but as long as it's running, you can be satisfied. It's like, I'm moving forward. And I love that line of thinking.
Yeah.
And don't you feel that their stress level comes down when they know they're on the right path? I mean, I think I've seen that from the business side, that when they see that the early signs, the lead indicators, I'm doing fine, my team's engaged, then the results will be there. The confidence is there. And then their stress level goes down. And I just feel everything is better when the owner doctors are, when their stress level is down. They're better with their team. They're better with their patients. They're better with their families. And the results just turn out to be better too, from the financial side. So I think that when processes are in place and they're confident in the processes, and to be honest with you, that's where 80% of the value is in a business, in the internal processes, team, patients, and systems. All of that matters in the long-term value, wealth creation of the business.
Yeah. Now, to contradict myself, I know there's people listening to this are like, I think there is power in being like, I want to lose 10 pounds in like 2 months, and I'm just going to do whatever it takes to get there. Like, sometimes these like really short, really specific goals can help put us there. Like last year I think it was February or March. I'm like, I'm not going to have sugar this whole month, was like my thing. Like, I just wanted this really concrete, I have too much sugar in my life, I just want to see what it does to me. And I didn't have sugar for a month, and spoiler alert, it was awesome. I got a lot healthier, slept better, all this stuff. After that month, I went back to having as much sugar as possible, right? Kind of before that, it didn't change anything for me long term, which is kind of my angst towards sometimes when we set goals, like we'll set something, we'll accomplish, man, we'll actually revert back to who we are, or our daily habits, which is why it's
effect.
Really important to focus on is like, again, what do I want my life to look like? I don't want my life to not have sugar in it, right? That's kind of what I landed on. But I do want to like realize, I think you can kickstart a lot of things by like, I'm going to quit doing this for 3 months, or I'm going to do this thing for 3 months, and really just cold turkey go after it. And that can try and help change your behavior a little bit. So I do understand like the value of putting a really strong, concrete goal in the short term can be awesome for behavior.
Yeah. And let's be honest, people listening to this, we have to, maybe we should have started with this is personality as well.
Yeah.
Like, I know people personally in my life who are I'm very close to, who are very goal oriented and very, very successful. And you could, are they
because
satisfied?
They are type A. Yeah.
Well,
that's
are they satisfied in their life? Questionable. But like, I do think that is a risk truly of even people who are super type A goal oriented. I've seen this so many times is there's a shelf life to that being the main driver of success. I've had many, many conversations in the proverbial kind of quiet corners on Zoom of these type A, very successful people who've achieved more than they could have ever imagined. And there's kind of a paradox here, because they look back and they say, well, I'm here because of my goal-oriented mindset.
Yes.
But now I'm unsatisfied with the results because of my goal-oriented mindset. Because now it's the only thing that ever drove me.
That's who I am. And I'm just going to keep setting goals and keep setting goals.
Exactly. And I'm thinking of specific conversations of people who, again, in my life, that clients or friends or otherwise, that are wildly financially successful. They are beyond financially independent, and they're still calling me frustrated because they didn't get the returns they wanted on a specific stock because that's the only thing that they know how to like. That's the only framework they've ever been able, or the only muscle they've ever worked on, if you will, is like this goal oriented next to the next and the next to the next. At some point, that's just, or that mindset, I think, breaks down, and you've got to have a new operating system. I think.
Yeah,
I
to
can't
me-
believe
Well,
you don't- yeah.
Go ahead, Jake.
Or I just say to me, just really quickly, it does feel like life in general, spanning across all these categories, is more than just like boxes to be checked, right? Like goals to be done. Like life is more than just an accumulation of I accomplished these 30 goals over the last 30 years. It feels like it should be more lived in than that. More, again, like we said, process oriented, day to day, than just accomplishing goals. Anyway, go ahead,
Yeah,
Chris.
go
More
ahead,
about
Chris.
the being than the doing, right?
There you go.
Who am I being versus what have I done? And then again, just some of the more recent conversations I've had with doctors, as they're looking to sell their business and retire, it's like, well, now what? What am I going to do with my life? And so purpose needs to be, again, more than just work, because that at some point will end, and that in a good way,
Yep.
right? And we hope it does end before you end, right? That is why we save money, to have a life after work, right? And so again,
Yeah.
but if you're not living now, and that's the horror stories we've seen, the 20 years of sacrificing, time with my family, vacations away, whatever, the living now to save for later. And now I'm, not able to, I don't know what to do because I've never done anything else but work. That's the sad story. So again, I think this is where
Yep.
Dennis Advisors takes a very different approach than many financial planning company of. It's not just saving for the future. It's about living now, having a plan and a
Yeah.
process in place that's constantly being updated. I'm going to go back to that time frame. I don't think anything more than 90 days is really accomplishable if we don't break things down to a 90-day sprint, if you will, right?
Yep.
And we've seen this in different organizational structures, from EOS to Walking with Destinies, EPI, all those different programs that talk about 90 days. What can you do in 90 days? And then you get a new one or finish this one.
Yeah.
So it's that shelf life really, has stuck with me here.
There's a
Timing.
lot of studies on that too, Chris. The EOS system, that's what we use at Dennis Advisors, is there's studies that support the 90-day kind of attention span being something in
Right.
your system. And one thing I'll mention too, Chris, that you said is we do think of things differently at Dennis Advisors, but our goal is to find the intersection between the kind of table stakes spreadsheet things that need to be done around, like,
Yeah.
you do need, like, the numbers do matter, right?
yeah.
The numbers do matter, and we're not saying just kind of shoot from the hip, who cares, it's all going to work out. We do need to have the foundational numbers and saving systems and investing strategy and all this, but I think where a lot of other, we feel what makes us unique in a lot of ways is bringing the other side, like highlighting a lot the other side and finding the intersection of the spreadsheet and the real life. And because you don't live in a spreadsheet, and I don't care what the Monte Carlo tells you, if you're not doing the work on the real life side, then the numbers don't matter. So it's finding that intersection there for sure. I want to come back to something that you said, Jake. I was thinking another good book certainly to read, I would say, in 2026, that speaks to what you were saying earlier, is Simon Sinek. It's called Infinite Games, I believe, or Infinite Game.
Yeah.
And I think one of the fundamental issues here, a lot of times, kind of big picture, what we're talking about is all the goals that people set, the categories of goals people set. We all know it's money, it's finances, it's health, and it's career. Like, those are the three. And what Simon Sinek talks about is these are all infinite games, meaning, like, you don't win health.
Yeah.
There's no, like, winning health.
You don't win
There's
personal finance either.
You don't win personal finance.
Yeah.
You don't win career. You don't win parenting. Like, as a parent to young kids, both you and I, Jake, like, I'm never winning parenting. But those are the things that we're trying to always improve on. And I just don't think goals are always, like, I think that's maybe one of the fundamental problems is, like, goals create this outcome win or lose type mindset. And all the categories we set goals in are unwinnable, infinite type games. I think that's one of the problems here too.
And
Yeah, so I would just, like-
indefinable. How do you
Yeah.
define
Yes.
winning of any of
You
that?
can't.
Well, and my
Yeah.
definition of winning is going to be different than y'all's too. So that's so
Yep.
personal, right? Oh, wow.
Exactly.
Good
It's just
point.
like the same with the health goals. I think the health thing is easy to identify, where it's like, I want to lose 50 pounds this year. It's like, okay, well, let's say you accomplish that goal, then what's next?
Yep.
Or like, it's not like you won. Like, really, what the goal should be is like, I actually just enjoy going to the gym every day, and it makes me feel good and gives me better mental health and physical health. And so instead of having this goal, what I actually need to do is like change my life. I need to change my
Yes.
habits and change what I want. And the ironic thing about that is you're going to be awesome healthily, down the road. The people who enjoy what they're doing every day are going to have the most success. Or like same with like on the personal finance side, or like we're saving for retirement or financial independence. The people who just have a sustainable structure on saving, and they're saving a good amount of their money, a right percentage for their income, they're going to end up in an awesome spot down the road. Like you don't even need to worry about the financial income network because if you're putting away 20% of your income and you have a healthy spending rate and that's sustainable to you and you can keep repeating that year after year, you're going to outperform. You might win, quote unquote, right? You're going to get to that point. And so, yeah, I think that's a focus on just like lifestyle. What do we enjoy doing rather than like, this is my one goal that I'm going to work towards. And then I got to find another one after.
Yeah.
Well, and
Yeah,
certain
totally.
things give up.
Oh,
There's
go ahead,
no
Chris.
balance of that, right? If I've got to focus on one thing, something else is going to be less focused on. And that's a conscious decision of I am going to, focus on this. Something else is going to get less focus. So those, again, you got to weigh that with your behaviors. And I think changing little things in your behavior doesn't mean you sacrifice everything on the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Right. Good on you for giving up sugar for a month. I know myself. You tell me I can't have something and I want it more. No, you
Yeah,
can't
I know.
have
It was great.
pizza. Watch me,
Yeah.
I'll find another.
This is
I'll
the
find
hard
other
thing, is
food.
life's
I
all
just gotta eat
trade-offs.
less. Yeah, it's all about a trade-off. That's right. That's exactly right.
It was great. I was way healthier that 1 month, but then it's like, I really just like candy and I like ice cream. And it's like, I'm
And-
actually not willing to give up that health that I had that month to
Exactly.
not have ice cream.
Yeah. Yeah.
But now you know
It-
that
it
maybe
cut-
modifying. Maybe I won't have the whole pint. I'll have a half a pint, and I'll
I
have it
know,
every other
I
day,
know.
right? But
once you
but that was an
start,
experience that was worth having.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So, this is such a good conversation, guys. I want to summarize a couple of things we've said, and I have another quote from James Clear that I think sums this up. So let me actually
I
read
hope
this, and then we
I
can kind
hope
of
he's a
summarize.
listener. That's for
Yeah,
quoting him.
I don't
Can you
think
imagine?
I don't think we're at James Clear's level,
Ooh.
but he's amazing, and I've said this before. If you don't follow his newsletter, it's so incredible. If you don't follow Jake's newsletter, by the way, too, truly follow
Less
Jake's.
incredible, but yes.
No, it is very good. Jake, what is it? To remind the people.
It's a Substack newsletter. It's called Money Talks. If you want to search on there,
Money
you can also
Talks.
just search
Money
my
Talk.
name on Substack and you can find it.
Yeah. So check that one out. Check out James Clear. His is called 321. He brings it's so good. But let me summarize this quote, and then we can all kind of close out with our own words. So from James Clear, the purpose of setting goals is to win the game. The purpose of building systems is to continue playing the game. True long-term thinking is goalless thinking. It's not about any single accomplishment. It's about the cycle of endless refinement and continuous improvement. Ultimately, it is your commitment to the process that will determine your progress. To me, that kind of summarizes what we've talked about. Is I like what he says. The true long-term thinking is goalless thinking, but that doesn't mean that goals cannot be used in the short term as part of that overall system of refinement and continuous improvement. I think goals certainly play a role. I think what we've all established and are agreeing to is a lot of times either the pressure we put on ourselves and the use of goals, like the improper use of goals, I think is one of the biggest things that we've talked about today. Guys, my mind is gone.
All good.
The improper kind of focus around what a goal actually serves in the overall system and process, I think is a huge part. I just love that quote. I think it summarizes it very well. But I'll give you guys final words and thoughts.
Let me go really quickly because then she's going to have a better thought to finish this out.
No pressure.
I agree. I think you also summed it up really nicely for me, Matt. That's where I'm coming from. I'm not going to come on here and be like, goals are a bad thing. They're not a bad thing. It's good to set depending on the context and things. I would just say on the personal finance side, I think it's good to free yourself up from thinking, I know exactly what's going to happen over the next 20 or 30 years. And I'm going to try and predict interest rates and economies and stock market and savings rate and my personality changing and how many kids I'm going to have and all those things. Like, I think it's freeing to be like, I don't need to predict any of those things. What I need to do to accomplish my goals is the best I can today. Like, look at my current situation How can I best utilize my money, what I'm doing now? And I do think the future will take care of itself if we can just keep saying the best thing we can do now. So that'd be my personal finance spiel on goals is what's the best thing we can do now? We don't have to worry about exactly what's going to happen 20 years from now.
Have a system. Yeah.
Yep.
Go ahead, Chris.
I'll say from the business side, first of all, Jake and I did a great webinar from September. So there's a whole hour's worth of information of setting goals for a business on our library, on our website. So there's some good details in there, but conceptually keep them smaller, keep them realistic. I'll go back to the SMART goals: measurable, achievable, realistic, time bound, and engage your team in those goals. But I think the 90-day sprints is important, staying on the behavior change, those lead indicators of if I make changes in behavior on a daily basis, it will make a bigger impact long-term than if I put one big goal in there and hope I get there. Hope is not a strategy.
Yeah. So good, guys. Honestly, you guys have brought such insight. I knew this conversation would be valuable and helpful, and it did not disappoint. I learned a ton. So this is selfishly for me. I love these conversations. I want to invite everyone when we talk about these things. If you're hearing this and you're thinking, man, I want more of this, I would love to be with like-minded people to have conversations like this. You might be interested in the Dennis Money Summit. We have a 3rd annual Dennis Money Summit. We're changing the location this year, and we're leaning much more into kind of the get out of your normal routine, get away from the grind of work, get into a beautiful place, which is going to be Midway, Utah. Bring your family and enjoy the outdoors of Utah. We did it in Park City the last couple of years, but honestly, I'll be honest, from what we're trying to accomplish with like get out and golf, get out into the mountains, the activities are actually going to be even better in Midway. So we'd love to have you out for the Dennis Money Summit. The theme this year is going to be practice on your terms. And so fits very well with what a lot of stuff we've talked about, the work to be done of figuring out what that even means for you. So we'd love to have you at the Dennis Money Summit this year in June. You can check it out at dennismoneysummit.com to register or just get more information. We'd love to have you. For now, Jake, Christine, thanks for being here and sharing your wisdom. Everyone, thanks for listening. If you're still here, of course, you're one of the cool ones. Thanks again. Happy New Year. I think we can still say that. Happy New Year. Till next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.